Go to mybookie.ag, use that promo code WEIGHININ, and they'll give you additional spending cash with your first initial deposit. John, I'm not going to compare the two weight classes, the two weight divisions from each promotion. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to let the fighters do all the talking when it comes to in comparison. But just so you guys know, these fighters all train with each other. He's one of the top guys at ATT at 135 pounds. You got Cody Law, who is there, who's been highly touted, and he's talked about all the time as well. You've got other guys out of that division that all fight in the UFC. They know who's good. Just the same, no different than the guys that are all at Extreme Couture or at Syndicate and all these other places that train in Vegas. They all know. They all know who the best is. They all know they all know when they compete against each other who's good and who's not. So when they start speaking out like this, they've got a little insider trading. They know exactly what's going on. They know exactly how good they are and how to beat. Maybe he thinks he's good enough to beat Aljamain Sterling because Aljamain Sterling is a top-level wrestler. Well, so is Danny Sabatello. How do you plan on getting in my back if you can't take me down? Maybe that's in his mind. Maybe they know each other. Maybe they don't know each other. I don't know. Bottom line is, certain fighters will call out certain fighters because they know stylistically they are a perfect match for them to beat. And in this fight, Danny Sabatello probably thinks, how you getting in my back or how you taking me down? You're not a better wrestler than me. And that's probably where he's going with this. In terms of the division, look, both divisions in both promotions are stacked. You know, you can go back and forth all you want, and you can say that the UFC has a better one. I can say the Bellator has a better one. The bottom line is there's a whole shitload of fighters at 135. One has got a huge division of 135-pounders that are freaking nasty good. So I could sit here all day and say it, but the bottom line is there's plenty of them to go around. So there's no reason to argue about it.
I think Danny, first off, Danny believes in himself, and I love that about him because that's the way you're supposed to be. Danny fought on the Dana White Contender Series. He got a easy win, but he did not finish the fighter, and Dana didn't take him. And you know that Dana does that many times, but I think Dana made a mistake in not taking him in that one because Dana didn't know him, and he saw the fight, and he goes, yeah, but he's a wrestler, and in his opinion, wrestlers going to be a dime a dozen. It's something that is not that exciting. So I saw a guy that wrestled a lot, took his opponent down, controlled him on the ground, used ground and pound, but it wasn't that exciting striker. That's the guys that Dana is normally looking towards. But I think, Danny looked at that, kind of looked at it as a slight. He's come into Bellator. He had a big win against a UFC vet in Brett Johns in his first fight. Brett Johns had only had, I want to say two losses. I think one was to Aljamain, though. But I think he had 2 losses in the UFC, and then he comes over to Bellator. He fights Danny Sabatello in his first fight. Danny took that fight on 7 days' notice, and Danny dominated that fight.
Manhandle him.
Just unbelievably good performance for a guy coming in on 1 week's notice. And he's saying, yeah, Aljamain beat him, so did I. And you're right. A lot of times these guys, they all train together. Look, Aljamain trains with Patchy Mix and guys like Rafion Stotts, and they're all in the same room, and they all work out together, and they all know. And I never sit here and talk about the things that I know from talking to trainers and what's going on because it's training, and you can't compare it all. You really can't. Some guys, they can get smoked in the gym day in and day out, and when you put them under the lights, they smoke everybody. And that's just the way some guys are and stuff. So the gym stuff. But when you have success against someone in the gym, at least you start to gain confidence of, well, they say that guy's the best guy in the world, and I'm doing well with him. So obviously, I'm one of the best guys in the world.
Yeah.
And, that's the way to look at it. And that's where your confidence comes from. And if there's one thing Danny Sabatello is not lacking right now, it's confidence.
But what you see is what you get with him. He's real. And I like what he said when he's like, look, I'm from American Top Team.
Other than the hair.
And yeah, that's true. And everyone keeps talking to him and asking him questions about, is this like a Colby Covington stick? He's like, no. He's like, this is who I am. He's like, I'm Italian. This is who I am. He's like, on top of that stick of Colby's is fake. He's not a real gangster. He tries to act like he's tough. He's like, no. He's like, and the other thing as well, I don't overstep. I talk about my opponent. I talk about their skill level. You'll never hear me talk about my opponent's family, their wives, their kids, Anything outside of who I think that they are in that cage, that's who I'll talk about because that's who I am. He's like, it doesn't matter. I will tell you what's on my mind when it comes to my opponent, not anything else. I won't talk about their religion, their wives, their kids, their families, nothing. That's all off. That's all out of bounds. That's not an area that I'm going to head into. And I like that about him. I like that he's laid the groundwork and said, look, I'm going to say who I am and I'm going to be confident in who I am. And I'm going to talk shit about the guys that I'm fighting, but nothing else. That's a good person right there. He understands that this is just a sport. He also understands that he needs to be confident in himself to become a champion. I think he's on his way, man. He poses a threat for a lot of these guys. A lot of them.
Yeah, he does.
He's so fast in his wrestling. His blast double and his single to the flare is nasty fast.
Oh, he's inside.
Yeah.
He covers distance very well.
Oh, yeah.
You know, a lot of guys, you can see when they're taking that shot, he fucking drops levels, comes in, and it's fast and clean and, you know, puts his head in the right place, you know, brings his head up, doesn't keep his head down, does all the things you go, that's why you're great with your takedowns.
Yep.
Go to breathefume.com/weighing in and use the promo code weighing in to get 10% off right now.